Welcome to another deep dive into the fascinating world of Bigfoot. Today, we're unearthing more incredible stories from the archives, tales of spine-chilling encounters and mysterious sightings that will leave you questioning everything. If you enjoy uncovering hidden gems like these, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to support the channel. Your support helps me bring even more legendary stories to life. Let's dive in. Bigfoot sensation called real, let's not pretend they don't exist, by Teresa Salicki of the Chronicle. Take hundreds of reported sightings of large, hairy, man-like creatures in the forested regions of the Northwest. Add in oversized footprints and handprints. Include one anthropology professor from Washington State University and another from the University of Idaho. Combine a generous portion of scientific curiosity with a touch of myth. The result? A methodical, thorough study of Sasquatch. Sprague flips open a book to a series of photographs, the famous Patterson film taken in 1967 at Bluff Creek, California. The footage shows a large, upright creature moving through a clearing in the woods. The people at Walt Disney said there was only one place in the world that could have doctored the film to look like this, Sprague explains, and they said they didn't do it. The odds are that it exists. All I'm saying is, let's not pretend it doesn't exist, he states. It exists in people's minds. The phenomenon is real whether or not you believe in the physical creature. So why ignore it? At the very least, we can study it from a sociological perspective. Grover Krantz of Washington State University is more direct. I'm nearly convinced they exist. What I've found can't be explained otherwise. But if Bigfoot exists, why haven't sightings been conclusively proven? Why do we hear about them but never see them? Suppose someone told you they'd seen an animal that fells trees, builds dams, and slaps its tail in the water as a warning before a tree falls, Sprague suggests, smiling. Have you ever heard of a beaver? Is it unusual to have two professors within 8 miles of each other scientifically studying Bigfoot? It's not unusual, Sprague says, it's unique. Whether we're willing to acknowledge the possibility of a living creature like Sasquatch, as anthropologists, we have a duty to study the sociological and anthropological implications of belief systems that sustain such ideas, Sprague wrote in The Scientist Looks at Bigfoot. The book, published by the University Press of Idaho, compiles articles by American and Russian scientists, many of them university professors. Edited by Sprague and Krantz, it offers varying perspectives on the possibility of Bigfoot's existence. Of the 9 authors, all but one suggest that large, primate-like animals might inhabit forested regions of the world. The skeptic, Richard Beeson, a UI anthropology professor, writes, "What Bigfoot represents, I believe, is a modern form of myth, and we are fortunate to witness its creation. Like most myths, there is room for improvisation and participation. There is freedom from the usual constraints of reality." The other authors move beyond debating Bigfoot's existence. They discuss how best to capture one, whether to take it alive or kill it, and the most reliable methods for identifying it. Krantz, for example, supports killing a Bigfoot because he believes capturing one alive would be nearly impossible. He is criticized by Seattle scientist John Beckyord, who writes, "Because these reports involve hairy bodies rather than hairless ones, some feel they have a license to shoot first and ask questions later. I deplore this form of scientific arrogance." A Russian researcher adds that he opposes killing or any violence against the creature. Despite the criticism, Krantz stands firm, insisting a Sasquatch must be killed for science. However, he warns hunters to ensure they're not targeting a human in a fursuit. "I've already seen 4 films of people in fursuits pretending to be Bigfoots," he writes, "and I've heard about others." Both Krantz and Sprague express frustration with the lunatic fringe that undermines serious scientific efforts. "A man from Seattle who's clearly unwell constantly calls me to claim Bigfoots are extraterrestrial," Sprague says. Some researchers focus on Bigfoot behavior, but Krantz believes that until physical evidence is obtained, these studies are as useless as studying the sex life of unicorns. One challenge in collecting Bigfoot data, Sprague explains, is that amateur Sasquatch enthusiasts, who initially made Bigfoot hunting popular, are a disorganized group. They're a strange lot, Sprague remarks. They're too busy fighting amongst themselves and jealously guarding their information. Unlike the amateurs, professional researchers are eager to collaborate and share findings. Yet many fear ridicule from the scientific community and avoid discussing their Sasquatch research publicly. There's no doubt Krantz has faced considerable criticism for his beliefs, Sprague says. Despite his extensive research and publications, he remains an associate professor. By now, he should be a full professor, Sprague adds with a chuckle. I chaired my department for 12 years. Nobody dared argue with me. A 1977 survey by Ron Westrom of Eastern Michigan University revealed the difficulties of Sasquatch research in academia. Of the 70 Bigfoot researchers surveyed, 7 of the 16 academic participants requested anonymity. None of the non-academic participants did. Yet Sasquatch studies in academia continue to grow. More researchers are becoming interested and open to the possibility of Bigfoot's existence. As Sprague says, who are we to question it? But we know beavers exist. Those who report Bigfoot may be crackpots, glory seekers, or just plain mistaken. Although recent years have seen an increase in reported sightings, with roughly 1,000 in the Northwest alone, Krantz estimates that 50% are invalid. People either see another animal or make it up to get their name in the paper, he says. Krantz also dismisses claims that Bigfoot footprints are exaggerated human prints. They've been adapted to support much weight, he explains. No hoaxer could figure that out. Of the only known set of Bigfoot handprints, Krantz says, if they were faked, it had to be by a professional primatologist. Unlike human hands, he notes, all the fingers point in the same direction. The thumbs are not opposable, the palms are flat, and there are no thumb pads. Is this enough evidence? Most scientists don't think so. Krantz concedes that only Sasquatch bones or the capture of a specimen will convince the scientific community. Meanwhile, a small but growing group of experts in the United States, Canada, China, and the Soviet Union continue to analyze data related to the mysterious creature. Tow truck driver witnesses creature dragging elk away near Malta on Highway 191. Submitted by witness on Sunday, February 12, 2012. Year 2011, season winter, month January, date Saturday night or early Sunday morning. Location state Montana, county Phillips County. Location details, approximately 65 to 70 miles south of Malta on Highway 191, within the Charles M. Russell Wildlife Refuge. Nearest town Malta, nearest road Highway 191. Observed. It was last winter, 2010 to 2011, around 1 a.m. I was responding to a wrecker call about a mile north of the Missouri River. While loading a car onto my truck, I heard a deep grunt. Turning with my flashlight, I looked behind me and saw an upright walking creature, approximately 100 feet away. It was dragging the dead elk, the same elk the car I was towing had hit, down the side of a hill. The temperature was about 40 degrees below zero. I was cold and scared, so I quickly finished loading the car and returned to town. Additional details, also noticed. The creature was dragging the elk with one hand. No human I've ever known could do that. It had light brown hair, and without snow would have blended into the environment very well. Other witnesses. There were no other witnesses. The car owner had ridden into town with the highway patrol. Other stories, no time and conditions, 1 a.m., dark. But there was a full moon. Environment pine trees, sagebrush, deep coulees, and draws. Follow-up investigation report, Investigator Jim H. I spoke to the witness and received a detailed account of what he experienced. He began by explaining that he had to fill his truck with gas before leaving Malta, Montana to respond to the call, which came in around 11:30 p.m. to midnight. While neither the witness nor I were entirely sure of the exact date, we deduced that the event likely occurred on a Saturday night or early Sunday morning. Based on our discussion, I estimated the date to be January 8th, as the witness confirmed it was not on New Year's night. The witness recalled noticing the bank thermometer displayed a temperature of 40 degrees below zero as he left town. When he arrived at the accident scene, he found a state trooper and the car's owners waiting for him with the patrol car's lights flashing. Together, they moved the young bull elk, a 3x3, off the road as it was lying in the middle. The trooper then transported the car owners back to town. The witness backed his roll-top wrecker to the car, hooked it up, and began loading it. As he stood on the passenger side of his truck, operating the roll-top mechanism, he heard a deep grunt. Shining his flashlight toward the elk's location, he saw a large, upright creature, approximately 7.5 to 8 feet tall, dragging the elk one-handed by its antlers. The creature was brownish-gray with broad shoulders, long arms, and a big, square, flat face. It looked like a bodybuilder, but much larger, covered in about 2 inches of hair with a 5-inch beard. The witness noted the creature's eyes, spaced roughly 5 inches apart, reflected the flashlight in a whitish glow, similar to a deer caught in headlights. The animal showed no sense of urgency. It simply turned to look at him before continuing to drag the elk into the coulees through about 36 inches of snow. The witness observed that the creature's feet never rose above the snow line, but it seemed to have no difficulty moving. The encounter lasted about 15 seconds, during which the creature dragged the elk approximately 100 feet before disappearing from view. The witness called the state trooper upon returning to town to report the incident, but the trooper appeared skeptical. Year 1991, season fall, month, September, date 11, state Montana, county Ravalli County, nearest town Hamilton or Darby, nearest road unknown, observed. During a guided elk hunting trip in Bulls Creek, within the Deer Lodge Anaconda Pintler Range, I was traveling down a game trail along a ridge in deep, dark timber. My horse was exhausted but suddenly became nervous. A slight breeze was coming toward me. About 75 yards down the trail, my horse began looking to the left. About 25 to 30 feet away, I saw a large root ball from a fallen pine tree. Behind it, crouched from the waist up, was a Bigfoot. We locked eyes, and both of us looked equally surprised. It didn't look like an ape. It appeared more human, but with hair covering its body, about 6 to 8 inches long. I had a rifle with me, but I was so close to the creature that I was afraid to make any sudden moves. I decided to act as if I hadn't seen it and continued riding away. I'll never forget the encounter. If I ever have the funds, I hope to return to that area to look for it again. Additional details. Also noticed nothing. Other witnesses, none. Other stories, none. Time and conditions just before sunset in dark timber. Environment heavy timber, primarily pine trees. Follow-up investigation report by investigator John S. I interviewed the witness by phone to gain more details about the encounter. The witness, an experienced big game hunting guide, is highly familiar with bears, cougars, elk, deer, and other large animals. He explained that this incident occurred the evening before the opening day of elk hunting season. After spending the day scouting the area, he was heading back to his base camp in the fading daylight, cutting through deep timber. His horse, tired from the day's activity, suddenly became restless, a behavior the guide recognized as a warning of nearby wildlife, possibly a bear or moose. As they continued down the trail, the horse focused to the left. Looking in the same direction, the witness saw a large root ball from a fallen pine tree. Behind it, crouching and staring in his direction, was a Bigfoot. Initially, the creature squinted at him, but its expression quickly changed to one of surprise. The witness believed the Bigfoot had heard the sound of a four-legged animal approaching but wasn't expecting a human riding it. Downwind of the creature, the witness realized it hadn't detected his scent. Fearing he might provoke it, he chose to act as if he hadn't seen it and continued riding away. He emphasized that he wouldn't have noticed the Bigfoot without his horse drawing his attention to it. Description of the creature. The Bigfoot was covered in reddish-brown hair with thinner facial hair that didn't fully cover the face. The skin appeared brownish, and its facial structure resembled a man more than an ape. Its eyes were brownish-green and its mouth remained closed. Hair draped slightly over its eyes, parted in the middle. The witness estimated the creature's shoulders were 35 to 40 inches wide, with a physique similar to an NFL player. He guessed it was between 20 and 30 years old based on human aging. Since the creature stayed crouched behind the root ball, its height could not be determined. However, the witness noted that it never took its eyes off him during the encounter. Habitat details. The area is rich with wildlife, including elk, deer, and other large game. There are bogs, natural. Credibility. I found the witness to be credible based on his detailed account and professional experience. He mentioned having another Bigfoot experience in southern Utah near Beaver, where deep grunts and howls drew a creature closer in an area dominated by junipers and sagebrush. Year 1993, season summer, state Michigan, county Luce County, location details end of County Road 412, about 3 to 4 miles west of the mouth of the Two-Hearted River, nearest town Newberry, nearest road County Road 412, the encounter. During the summer of 1993, my brother and I were hunting for Lake Superior agates along the shoreline, about 3 to 4 miles west of the mouth of the Two-Hearted River. It was mid-afternoon on a windy, overcast day. Most of our time was spent looking down at the ground, scanning for rocks, but occasionally we'd stand to stretch and look around. During one of these moments, I noticed a figure standing about 300 to 500 yards away at the tree line behind us, in the direction we had walked from. Initially, I assumed it was another agate hunter, and mentioned to my brother that we had competition. As I observed the figure, something seemed odd. It didn't bend over as agate hunters typically do, nor did it move from its spot at the tree line. That's when I realized how unusually tall it appeared compared to the surrounding pines. Curious, I asked my brother to grab my binoculars from my day pack so I could get a closer look. It was, without a doubt, the tallest person I had ever seen. Instead of handing me the binoculars, my brother looked through them first. When I asked if it was a man, he hesitated and replied, "I can't tell, but it's a man-like figure." He passed the binoculars to me, and I took a closer look. Through the binoculars, the figure was magnified, but I still couldn't make out any color variations. It was entirely black. I watched as the figure repeatedly walked from the tree line to the shoreline, though I couldn't tell what it was doing. Then, it began walking in our direction. Both my brother and I felt a wave of nervousness as it quickly covered about 100 yards in what seemed like no time at all. Despite the movement, I still couldn't detect any color changes or clothing details where you might expect to see them. At one point, the figure bent down, picked up a rock from the beach, and tossed it into the lake with an underhand motion. That simple act convinced me it was a man, and I told my brother as much. Satisfied with this explanation, we returned to our rock hunting and chose to ignore the figure's movements. Rock hunters spot upright figure on Lake Superior shoreline near Newberry, year 1993. Season summer, state Michigan. County Luce County. Location end of County Road 412, about 3 to 4 miles west of the mouth of the Two-Hearted River. The nearest town is Newberry, and the nearest road is County Road 412. In the end, the mystery of Bigfoot remains as intriguing as ever. From eerie encounters deep in the wilderness to tantalizing pieces of evidence that defy explanation, the question persists. Is Bigfoot a relic of a bygone era, a clever hoax, or something far more extraordinary? As the stories and sightings continue to pile up, one thing is certain. This legend refuses to fade into obscurity. What do you believe? The truth might be closer than you think, waiting to be uncovered in the shadows of the unknown.